What's going on, Sztanyo Clanyo? Welcome back into Team Sztanyo Live. We're going to be talking about the Cincinnati real estate market in this episode and answering your questions. Is it a good time to buy in 2025? Is it a bad time to sell a house in 2025? We've got statistics we're going to look over in November. We've got statistics from January that are in already, and a big shift in the market. So we're going to talk about that and what's going on, how that impacts you. As always, would love to answer any questions that you have about living in Cincinnati, moving to Cincinnati, or real estate here locally in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, Greater Cincinnati area. I am here for you. I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Had a family meeting this morning with our kids. We hadn't had a good one in a while. You know, I recently went on a trip with my wife. We always do our annual planning every year. We got away for a little bit, started dreaming about this year. Some of you guys might know we've been working on this big addition on our home, and that has been all consuming. If you've ever done a home addition, you know how much it is. And what we're doing is a lot more than a home addition. We've got a friend who's a local builder, and my sons, three of my sons have been able to help build the house with him, which is awesome. So like my sons are literally raising walls and doing roofing and doing plumbing and electric in our house. But that's the dream. The dream is that we're building something for them to stay in. Enough about me, talk about you guys, talk about this market. But, the idea here at Team Sztanyo is our tagline is find your home, strengthen your family. So we are all about the idea of helping you find the place where your family can grow strong. We believe all families are strong. We also believe all families are broken. We all have both of that within us. And so, but where you live and what you do in your home, that's a place where you can get stronger together as a family. We want to help you with that because we believe that strong families can bless the city and make our city a better place to live, make our world a better place to live. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about real estate. Let's talk about what's going on in the market. As always, leave in the chat where you're watching from. Ask any questions you have. The Bengals are off. We didn't have any relevant really January or February football here. So let's talk about real estate instead. Let's jump right in and let's see. It's been a little while, so I apologize, but it's good to be back with you guys. The home edition, like I said, has been pretty all consuming. So it's good to be back. I'm not going to lie and give you guys some information here. Let's jump right in. Let's talk about home sales in Greater Cincinnati. They posted gains in December and year end. So here's a look at stats from December. I've got them from January as well, but I want to give you a little bit of, before we get into January, I just want to give you where we were at and kind of where we are right now. The median sold price in the Greater Cincinnati area right now is $295,000. It's up 10.9% over the previous month. It's up 5.5% from the year. 10% on the year. 5.5 year to date from the previous month. In December, we sold 1,288 units sold. It's up 3.7%. And total sold volume, 447 million. Active inventory right now is up 35%. We're going to focus in on this. What does inventory look like? What does days on market look like? Because that's creeping up to 17 days right now from this report, up 30% year over date. And new listings are up slightly. So let's get into that. Alex, what is up? It's good to be back on YouTube. Where did you vacation at? Recently came back from the Caribbeans. I needed to stay one more week. Yeah, we were exactly the same. We got on a cruise down in the Caribbean, out of Miami, 5 nights. Was wonderful to get away. Wasn't super hot or warm, but it didn't matter. You know, we were just thankful. We were grateful. Someone else was cooking for us. We didn't have to do the dishes. And both of our parents took our 5 kids for the week. That was the week of the snowstorm. And we had to move up travel plans to get out one day early. So that was a little bit crazy, but it was great to get away. I always recommend this to anyone who lives, or is moving here to Cincinnati from Northern Kentucky, or is moving here to Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky. If you're not from here, let's say you're moving here from California or Texas or somewhere, or Phoenix, or like somewhere where your climate's a little bit more stable. We get 4 seasons here. And, by the time February comes, usually like everyone's pretty depressed. It's been cold, it's been dark, it's been gray, and you need to get a little sunshine. So I always think that sometime in mid-January or early February, if you can swing it, is a great time to head south, get to Florida, get to the Caribbean. There's multiple direct flights. Frontier goes direct to Cancun right now. I've used a vacation package. What's it called? Vacation Express, I think it is. There's Apple Vacations as well that do these all-inclusives down to Cancun. You're down there in 2.5 hours. You're drinking a margarita. You get up, you fly out at 7 a.m. By noon, you're sipping on a margarita. It's pretty great. So, Alex, hope you had a good trip. Welcome back. Yeah, we could all use another week, but hey, now we're back to the grind, right? So that's good. We got away. Thanks for asking. It's good to be back. Like I said, we had, my wife and I, what we do, we have this annual summit and we kind of review the previous year. We look at our dreams and goals for the future year, and all the different 5 capitals of our life. So for us, that's spiritual, relational, physical, intellectual, and financial. And we kind of make goals in each of those categories. Today with my kids, I kind of unrolled like, here's our theme for the year. And here we're going. And then I gave them all sheets. I was like, write out some goals. I'm teaching them how to do SMART goals. Who can tell me in the chat what SMART goals are? You guys probably know, but specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, timely. So I'm trying to teach my kids how to do that. I think goal planning for my life has been an absolutely incredible discipline and practice. And I'm always amazed at how, in just taking the time to sit down, begin with the end of mind, write those goals, how you make progress towards them. So we could talk about that in terms of home ownership. In fact, let's get over to an article I want to talk about tonight, because, talking about dreaming, I'm talking about goal setting, I'm talking about the new year of 2025. And yet we have this sad article of millennials who are desperate for affordable homes and they're willing to make surprising concessions. So let's get into this, shall we? And as we go through this, I might hop over into the statistics for January in the Cincinnati market, so you can kind of see how that stacks up with the overall sentiment of these millennials who are trying to find homes. All right. So here we go. This was written a couple weeks ago, but first time I've been able to get on the live and talk about it. Few millennials believe their generation can afford a home, and some are so desperate for an affordable purchase, they would be willing to buy a home with serious defects. So is that you, millennials? Do you feel that you can't afford a home? Are you feeling desperate? Do you feel like you have to buy something with serious defects? We're going to talk about all these things, but let's keep going here. According to a new survey of millennials by Clever Real Estate, just 21% of millennials believe their generation can afford a home. A substantial decline from 52% who said the same in early 2024. So we're talking 1 year ago, and gee whiz, what is that? 150% change. So a year ago, 52% of millennials thought that they can afford a home, and now just 21%. What a damaging year in terms of the psyche of millennials to buy a home. Let's keep going. Additionally, 96% of respondents said they have concerns about purchasing a home, with 44% saying they're worried about finding an affordable home, up from 35% in 2024. 96% of respondents said they have concerns. That's a large number. The report notes that the median home price is about $420,000, but 68% of millennials. Oh, by the way, just shout out real quick. Okay. This is more of a national article. All right. This isn't necessarily Cincinnati. 420 is kind of an average median home price. I just want to shout out again, Cincinnati, $295,000. All right. Median home price. So, I'm just saying, millennials who are out there and you feel like you can't afford a home, I might say this multiple times in this video, come to Cincinnati. Let's go. We got you. You got Joe Burrow, you got Jamar Chase, and you got affordable homes. It's a triple crown. Some might call it the triple crown. All right, let's get back into this. 68% of millennials who want to buy a home in 2025 want to spend less than $400,000. That's up from 57% who plan to spend less than $400,000 last year. So look, I get it. We're going to talk about affordability. We're going to talk about where we're at here in the Cincinnati market. You want to stay under 400? You feel like homes are too expensive? We're going to talk about all that. I'm going to try to give you some context and perspective. And I don't disagree with you. Homes are way more expensive than they were a few years ago. So I'm not fighting you on that. Okay. In fact, let's keep going. 57% of millennials said their desire to be a homeowner means they would be willing to purchase a home that smelled like cigarette smoke. And 41% said they would purchase a home that has asbestos in it. All right. So we got some desperate millennials. We got some desperate millennials out there. We're looking, homes are too expensive. I don't have any hope. Just give me the home that smells like cigarette smoke and asbestos. I don't care. I'll buy it. 41% also said they'd be willing to buy a house with pests in it, such as mice, cockroaches, or spiders. 40% said they would buy a house with a leaky roof, and 35% they'd be willing to accept foundation issues. Okay. So the millennials who are out there are willing to buy smoky houses, asbestos houses, houses that have mice and cockroaches and spiders and leaky roofs and even foundation issues. Okay, millennials, I feel for you. I really do. I promise you, I can help you buy a house that doesn't have these things. Okay, we can get through this. We can get through this together. I appreciate that you're willing to make those concessions and that you'll buy the smoky, cockroach, mice infested spider house with a leaky roof, but we can find something for you that doesn't have all those things for under $400,000. I promise you, we can get that done. Okay. All right. Hit us up. We'll talk about that. Let's keep going here. Those numbers, man. All right. Millennials are they're feeling sad. There's not a lot of hope. There's not a lot of hope in the housing market for millennials. And I'm feeling sad for you. But I'm going to try to give you a little hope. Just stick in here in this video. I'm going to show you why there's some reasons for hope. Other findings from the surveys. Oh boy. Other findings from the survey. Just these sad millennials. I am one, by the way. I know I don't look it. I know I look pretty old, but I moisturize. 5 kids. Okay. Going to be married 20 years this year. Excited about that. But I'm like the OG millennial. I'm like, I just squeaked in. I was born in 1981. So I think I'm like the oldest of the millennials. So I'm in this camp with you guys. All right. 74% of millennials believe high interest rates make now a bad time to buy a home. But 76% said they would be enticed to buy if rates were to fall in 2025. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's start with interest rates. 74% of millennials believe high interest rates make now a bad time to buy, but 76% said they would be enticed to buy if rates were to fall in 2025. Okay, let's give a little context first. All right, this is a 30-year fixed rate mortgage chart average in the United States dating back to 1971. And in 1971, interestingly enough, looks like those numbers are right about in the sevens. Right about in the sevens in 1971. Right now, they are actually a little bit below 7. Okay. They're up around 7 right now, but in the last month or so, they've been like mid 6s. But let's call it 7. We can round up here. 6.5, 7 for the last, the last few years. Okay. And I get that. Interest rates are high. Interest rates are high now compared to this. Compared to 2020, when interest rates were 2.5, 2.7, 2.8, 3, down in the 2s and 3s. Yes. Okay. Everything, everything looks high compared to that. Just look at this chart. Just take this chart in for a minute. Okay. Just breathe it in. And let's just kind of think contextually here. Okay. Yes, everything is way more expensive interest rate wise compared to this, compared to the lowest interest rates we've ever seen in the history of America. Okay. So 2.5, 3. Yes, this was insane. This was free money, basically free money. Yeah. If you didn't buy here or refinance here, I would be sad too. I understand why you're sad if you didn't buy here. And going back, let's just keep going back. Last 10 years, you're in the 4s. Okay. Yeah. So it's high compared to that as well. Going back to 2010, you're in the 4s. And then really going back from 2010, 2005, you're in the 5s and 6s. 2005 to 2000, you're in the 6, 7s, 8s. Okay. And so really from 1971, which is higher than right now, all the way through, let's call it around 2002. So the last 20 years, all of that time frame was above where we're at right now. We're in this 8s, we're in the 9s, we're in the 10s. And God help the people who were trying to buy a house when I was born. God help my parents who were trying to buy a house when interest rates were 18%. Okay. That's what we call inflation from the late 70s. That was rough. Jimmy Carter days. Okay. That was pretty rough. Now I feel with you that interest rates right now are higher than they've been. Yes. And I understand you're kicking yourself if you didn't buy a house a few years ago, right? Or as many houses as you possibly could. It's definitely higher than that. I mean, we're like, over 150% higher, right? Up in the 6s and 7s. But historically, I just want to give this context, okay? Historically, average has been around 6-7%. And from 1971 until 2002. So what is that? What is my math? 31 years. For 31 years, it was over 7%. So we're at 7 now. And millennials, I want to say this to you, and this is not just a show for millennials. I want everyone to understand this context. But I'm reading this article about millennials. I understand rates are high right now. I understand they're way more expensive than they were a few years ago. However, historically and contextually, just be careful, okay? Because they could go up higher. I don't know if they will or won't. I'm bullish, I would say, on the economy in the years to come, and that rates could come down. But just remember, rates can go both ways, okay? They don't always just come down. They can go back up. And so we're going to talk about that in terms of home sales and home prices. And I just want you to think for a second, what happens if the rates do come down? You might be sitting on the sidelines waiting to buy a house because you're waiting for interest rates to go down. I get that. I understand it. Trying to time the market. Everyone likes to time the market a little bit, have fun that way. How many other millions of Americans are also on the sidelines waiting for rates to come down? And what's going to happen if rates do come down? Like if they come down to 6, if they come down to 5, I'm telling you guys, I sold a lot of houses in 2020 and 2021 when those rates were low, and it was bonkers. Okay. It was like not a pleasant experience. It was not a pleasant experience at all. Because home prices were skyrocketing. Yes, rates were lower, but home prices were skyrocketing and the competition was fierce. Okay. You had to come in and you had to be offering 10, 20, 30K over an inspection. What's an inspection? You had to waive an inspection. You had to throw out an appraisal gap saying, hey, if this thing doesn't appraise for a price, who cares? I'll cover the difference. Like it was nutso, and cash offers were like super competitive. Like it was a mess. And so if you're waiting for interest rates to come down, I say that to say like, I get it. Like I understand why you want to do that. So it's more affordable, but just know it could potentially be a wash because home prices are going to go up and buyer competition is going to go up, causing you to bid higher on the price. So what's worth more? Like having a rate now where you could theoretically, if interest rates do come down in the future, refinance it, but there's less competition out there from a buyer standpoint, or waiting until rates come down, getting a lower price point, but home prices are going up. And now you might have to bid over ask price on a lot more because inventory is still low. Make sense? I'm not trying to browbeat you guys into buying a house. I understand that I'm a real estate agent. Okay. And I'm like, you should buy a house. But I promise you, I'm trying to say like, I'm trying to tell you what's going to happen. And all the people in this article that are saying like, I wish we would have bought then, you'll be saying the same thing now in a few years. Okay. L's product reviews. What's up? If millennials understand the FHA 203 you'd be busy. Yeah, right on. Meaning, and there's some great programs out there, meaning you can have a low down payment. So let's say you don't have a lot of cash, but you can still get into the house and you can start earning the equity because house prices are going to go up. This is something you might want to look into. We've got great lenders. Shout out Matt Flieger from UMC Capital. Shout out Jeff Bostic from rate.com. These guys are fantastic and can walk you through this free of charge. Happy to hook you up and have that conversation with them. And just figure out what it would look like, right? Figure out like a product like this. Brandon says waiving inspections was the biggest cost in the end for many of those buyers. No question. I mean, because then you might find some surprises, right? You're doing anything you can to get into this house. You're waiving inspections. And that's when you find, there's the roof. There's the furnace that's old and busted. There's some plumbing there. There's a sewer pipe that's backed up from these tree roots because this house has been here for 50 years. There's the foundation. There's, we bought in the summer, but come next spring, like winter, spring, here's all the water coming into the house. Those are the costly, things you got to pay for now. Now you got the house and you probably got the rate in the house, and that's good. But these, it's an expensive and challenging way to go about it if you wait until rates come down and all that competition comes back in, because, and I'm going to show this again, because inventory is still low. Like, inventory is still low. People are all fighting about it. And we can help you. I've got a story where I helped a buyer this week save a lot of money. Saved them $17,000. It was awesome. I'll tell that story. But we also do, I talk about new construction a lot on this channel. That might feel like expensive now, but because of the inventory, I'm like, hey guys, this is a really good option. Okay. This is a really good option. So, Brandon, you are for sure right. Let's go on. All right. We're going to continue back here. And so here's interest rates again, just to review that, so you guys understand historically where we're at. Okay. Historically, we're about average. We're about average. This 6% is about what it's been, even if you just cut back to just like 1990. Okay. Historically, if you add all this up, 6% is about average. We're maybe a little bit above it right now. All right. All right. Let's keep on this other findings from this survey. So 74% of millennials believe high interest rates make now a bad time to home, but 76% said they would be enticed. So that's just the point I'm trying to make, is like, if rates come down, all of those people are coming back in and you have to fight against them. So just keep that in mind if you're just waiting for rates to come down. 56% would offer over asking price, though that figure is down from 79% last year. All right, what's going on there? Last year, 79% said they would offer over asking price. This year, it's down to 56, meaning the affordability crunch is greater, right? Like, houses are more expensive now. And so more people would have asked over last year. This year, they're like, rates are up, home prices are up. Like, I'm not getting a break either way. So I probably won't ask over asking price. And by the way, in fact, I'll just pop over here now, because this was on the thumbnail. Month supply of inventory is up. So this might be contributing to this statistic a little bit, because we have seen days on market creep up here in the last few months. This is looking at home sales in Claremont, Butler, Warren, and Hamilton counties, which is kind of the four largest counties that sell around the Cincinnati area. And you can see, going back to May of last year, or really starting in July, days on market creeping up, creeping. And then it plummeted here in January. And we often see that at the beginning of the year now, where it comes back down. So what you're seeing in January is days on market start coming back down, because everyone just did what I just did, and they just set their New Year's resolutions. And one of those resolutions is like, this is the year I'm buying a house. And so a lot more buyers start hitting the market as soon as that year turns over. And from now until July, like you guys just saw, that days on market is going to come down even more, because there's more buyers out there. This is why I always say winter is a great time to buy. Like December, if you're trying to get the best deal, December is almost like the best time to buy. I understand it's the worst time to buy from a life perspective, family, Christmas, holidays, all that kind of stuff, darkness, cold, ice on the roads and all that. But from a financial standpoint, December is like the best time to buy. Because, those people who are looking to sell, they might be more motivated. Otherwise, they'd wait till the spring to sell their home. There's less inventory in the market. The days on market is up the highest. That's where you can get the best deals. January is something similar to that. And kind of each month leading up this in the spring to like this peak spring buying season, spring, early summer, gets a little bit worse and a little bit worse. So like, the downside is you don't have a lot of inventory to choose from, but what else is new in the last 5 years? The plus side is you're not fighting against everyone else again for the same inventory. So just taking a look at this chart again, days on market was up to around 40 days on market. And this is an average. So this is, I believe, including cumulative days on market maybe as well. But you see the big drop down to January. And from last year, you see December to January here. And we should expect to see days on market to creep down February, March, April, May, like right in here. It's going to keep going down next month as well. Okay. All right. What else are millennials thinking? Let's talk about it. 67% regret not buying a home when prices were lower, and 32% expect to max out their budgets if they try to buy this year. So yeah, regrets. Millennials have had a few. 67% regret it. Not buying when home prices are lower. I'm going to show you guys another chart. I want to give you more context. So I just showed you the Fed rates, okay, or the mortgage rates, I should say, not the Fed rates. And now I want to show you median sales prices of houses sold for the United States, going back to about the same time period, actually a little bit before 1963. And can anyone out there in the audience tell me, thanks for watching, by the way, please give this a thumbs up. Would love that. That really helps me out. If you wouldn't mind, just give this a thumbs up right now. Which way is this chart going? Which way are home prices going? Okay. There have been two times in the history since 1961 where home prices went down. We had the Great Recession in 2007, beginning of 2008. Home prices went down, and it took them a little bit. It took them 5 years. That was the Great Recession. That was basically a worldwide economic disaster, and it took 5 years for home prices to come down. They dipped down there. The other one was just slightly here in 2020 in COVID, when people were like, can we go outside of our houses and do things? And the answer was no for a little bit. So they went down slightly, and then what? Bam! And the next in 21 and 22, everyone's like, I want a house. I don't want to breathe next to this sucker. And in this apartment, and everyone wanted to buy a house, and home prices shot up. Okay. Actually, to tell you the truth, they have come down slightly since that peak in 2022 nationally. This is a national chart. They have not come down here in Cincinnati. So this is national, but overall, so I don't look at this chart too much, but nationally, they have come down a little bit because of the affordability. So I'm not dissing that the rates are higher. I'm not dissing that the prices are higher. I'm not dissing that wages haven't gone up. I get that. All of those are challenges for you in your generation, in my generation. Again, I'm a millennial. I feel with you guys. I understand it. I get it. But my question to you is this: which way are house prices going to go? Look at this chart. Like, which way are house prices going to go? Yeah, I understand they're more expensive than they've ever been in your lifetime. Guess what's going to happen next year? They're going to be more expensive, right? They're going to be, if rates come down, you're going to have more competition. Home prices are going to, okay, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't guarantee this. I'm just saying, look at this overall chart, right? And look where it's going. And in the worst economic disaster of our lifetimes, the recession, it took 5 years to come back from that. So if you bought a house, which I did, okay, I bought my first house right here, Q3 2007, like right at its peak. That's when I bought. So and then there was a Great Recession, and then like freaking Obama came out, and not freaking Obama, but the freaking the first time home buyer. I missed out on all these thousands of dollars because I bought right here. It's like, well, darn it. And I didn't end up living in that house. I lived in it for about 4 years, but then you know what I did? I rented it out for 10 years, and I sold it right here. I think I sold it right in the beginning of 2020. Wish I would have held it another year. That would have been awesome. But I lived in it for 4 years. Then I rented it out, became an asset for my family, and then I sold it when it was higher. I held on to it because I held an asset, during the worst economic, event of my lifetime. So, my point in showing you guys this chart again is just to say, like, millennials, I get it. Like, I know you regret not buying. You regret not buying. 67% regret not buying when home prices were lower. My question is to use this, like, do you think they're going to go down again? Do you think home prices are going to go down? Looking at that chart, just objectively, like they're not going to go down. Okay. And even if they do, if the worst crash since the Great Depression happens, it'll take 5 years for home prices to come up. Why is that? Why are home prices always going up? Because politicians always spend money and inflate the currency. Like, and if you own an asset, the best way to hedge against inflation is to own assets, right? And I understand. Look, I get the argument on renting versus owning. Okay, I can take my money, I can put it in a mutual fund, and I can have my landlord clean all my things. I'm a landlord. I get it. Landlord takes care of all my problems, and I can travel and blah 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 blah. But you also miss out on crap ton of equity. Okay, and equity is awesome. I'm just gonna say equity is awesome, and especially when you go through periods like this. But look, this is the trend line, guys. So our house price is gonna go down. So millennials regret it. I'm saying this again. I understand that I'm a real estate agent and it only benefits me. It doesn't only actually benefit me, but it does benefit me if you buy a house or if you use our company. That's great. But I like helping people own assets. I like people building wealth. And I don't think that can happen if you don't own assets. So buying a house is a great place to start. Even better, buy a duplex. That's what my wife and I did, and house hack it. And we lived in a tiny duplex, and we had kids, and my second kid lived in a closet. Actually, the second kid lived in the nursery. The oldest kid lived in our closet for a year, and it was fine. He's fine. He's just fine. You know what? And I have that duplex now, and I still rent it out, 15 years later. So don't regret it. That's my point. All right, let's keep going. I think I've belabored the point here. 45% think their generation faces the greatest challenges in affording homes, with 33% pointing to baby boomers as being responsible for the nation's affordable housing crisis. So millennials are like, it's your fault, boomers. And kind of. I mean, like, millennials, seriously, if you bought the house in 1980 or 1990 or 1970 or whatever, and it was paid off, and you could sell that house now for $500, and it's got a half-acre lot and wooded lot, and and you can go buy something more expensive for or that's like smaller square footage, worse lot. You're looking at a house in your backyard for more money than right now. Like, would you do it? I'm not. I don't like. I'm a person who doesn't like pointing fingers. All right, that's just me. If you want to point fingers, that's fine. Maybe you're like, it's all the real estate agent's fault. It's all your greedy commissions. I can take it. Whatever. I understand. I know how the industry works. I just, I'm in the world of I'm in the Jocko Willink world. Okay, the extreme ownership world. It's like, yeah, it sucks. Okay, boomers aren't going to sell their homes. Okay. Quick side note, boomers, if you want to sell your homes, it's easy. It's really, really easy because millennials are still starved for inventory, and they're willing to buy mice infested, cockroach, cigarette smoking. So boomer, hey, Mr. Boomer, Mr. Boomer out there, if you've been smoking in your house for the last like 40 years and like there's cockroaches climbing up the wall and there's mold in your basement because you have a bad foundation and the roof leaks, a millennial will buy that from you. So congratulations. I mean, it is pretty good to be you. I'm not going to lie, but millennials, like, come on, like 33% point. It's only 33% of you, but come on, guys. It's not boomers being the most responsible for the nation's affordable housing. There's plenty of other blame to go around. And I'm just going to try to say this again, like, every generation's had challenges. You guys, this is a challenge right now, but it can be overcome. Okay. It can be overcome. All challenges can be overcome. Look at me. I'm not only a real estate agent, apparently I'm a motivational speaker. Home buying challenges increase. All right, let's go back to the Debbie Downer article here. Okay, the feeling that the dream of home ownership is slipping away comes as home prices rose at an increased rate at the end of 2024. Single family home prices increased 5.8% in the fourth quarter of 2024 compared to the same in 2023. Guys, this is what I'm trying to tell you. They're not coming back down. Okay. Like it's only going to get worse. They're only going to get more expensive. Now, ideally, in an ideal world, I don't know what happens. Maybe we drill, baby drill. Maybe like in some crazy way, home prices come down and rates come down and like everything's affordable again. But I don't know. Don't bank on that. Don't bank on that. Okay. Because what happened at the end of 2024 was home prices went up 5.8% in one quarter. Okay. Again, that's nationally. Here locally. Again, I want to say this again. In fact, I'll show you some Cincinnati prices. National is a little bit all over the board. One thing I love about Cincinnati, one thing I love about raising my family here is like we're a stable market. Okay. We're a river town. We're right in the middle of the country. Nobody really knows about us. Nobody really cares about us. Nobody really thinks like, man, you know what city's on the rise? Cincinnati. No. Okay. No, that's not what happens. Mark Twain was like, if you want to, what was it? When the world ends, where you want to be Cincinnati, because the world will end like 20 years later there or something. That's the quote or something like that. So like, when house prices rise nationally, like a ton, Cincinnati's like, yeah, we'll catch up. Okay. Like we're like a steady like climb. And when house prices are like, bam, like when the recession happened, Cincy was like, yeah, we'll come down a little bit. Like that's kind of how we roll here. Okay. We just kind of do our own thing. Like we're not a volatile market. And so, house prices went up here in Cincinnati locally, not 5.8. Like we were around 5-6% on the year, not one quarter. Okay. So just know that for me, with my kids, with knowing like just understanding this economy, understanding how diverse it is, I like that. I like the stability. I don't have to play the gambling game of like appreciation and depreciation and like really volatile markets. I'll do that with my crypto. I don't want to do that with my houses. Okay, let's get back into this. All right. Year over year, home price growth accelerated in the fourth quarter, following back-to-back quarters of deceleration, said Mark Pallam, Fannie Mae Senior Vice President, Chief Economist. Inventories of existing homes for sale have improved from a year ago, but remain historically low due largely to the so-called lock-in effect. Let's actually go. Let me show you guys what I mean pricing-wise. This is Cincinnati again. So here from December to January, so we did see a rise. You can see here November to December, there was a little bit of a bump. Here in January, this is showing the median home price as $270. Now this stats from the other article I kind of showed you to start off this video. They pulled from a little bit different places. I'm pulling just from these counties here, these certain counties. So it's close, but just understand the trend lines is what matters more. So this is saying the median price is $270, which is down. This is closer. Actually, that is pretty close. That's pretty close to $290 there in December. If you can see where my cursor is right there. If we go back to this chart and it said $295 was the median home price, it probably was that in December, but we actually saw a bit of a dip here in January. And do we normally see that? Yes. Look at last year. There was December and there was January, and then it's going to kind of start picking back up. Okay. January is kind of the last month where you see, it starts to trend down median prices at the end, starting in July and August at the end of summer, as families are going back into school, there's less buyers in the market. And that slowdown of demand happens all the way basically through January. And that's why you see home prices basically coming down each month here. August, September, October, November, December, they popped up a little. Then January, they came back down. Okay. So in February, I would expect to see this trend back up. And I would expect to see this line, go all the way up through July of 2025. And this is nice. Like apart from COVID, this is a nice predictable curve in Cincinnati. You can kind of set your watch to this seasonality, which is prices are going to go up from January through July. And then they'll kind of be a little bit stagnant and then they'll come back down through the winter. Those are the lowest prices of the year. And this is what this is saying in over a 2-year period. Let's go make this a little bigger. Over a 2-year period, the home prices were up 11.2%. So there you go. Cincinnati up, basically 5.5% the last 2 years. That's about what you can expect year over year overall in the market. Kentucky was a little bit. Do I have Kentucky? I don't have Kentucky up. Kentucky rolls about the same. Let's look at this chart real quick. This is inventory. Okay. So I just want to give you guys, I want you to understand kind of the seasonality. If you're looking to buy or sell in Cincinnati, what does it mean here? Okay. Right now is still a great time to buy. It's a great time to buy. Now, this is the red bars in this chart are the amount of units for sale. The green is sold. Okay. So we sell the least amount in January. We sold the least amount of the year in 2024 as well. And in 2023. And when we talk about selling, I'm talking about those are close dates. So that's why December is the best time to buy, because it's the least amount of houses sold and it's the best price. The best price you're going to get is in like December. So what we're going to see here, and you can see this back in 2024, you're going to see this tick up February, March, April, May, June, July. You'll see the most kind of sold from May, June, July. That'll hit its peak. So you'll see more and more houses sold in the next few months. And the amount of inventory will creep up as well. So the amount for sale in red, January is here, then it's going to creep up, and then it kind of stops. Now, actually, this last year, there was more inventory than there was the year before, up quite a bit, actually, a 35% change. So if you can think in your mind of all this inventory in 2023, there was actually quite a bit more in inventory in 2024. So what does that mean for you, the buyer? It means you had better opportunities here in 2024 from an inventory standpoint, not from an affordability standpoint, because house prices still went up and interest rates still stayed up. But from an inventory standpoint, you had a little bit more to choose from, and you still do right now than you have in probably the last like 4 or 5 years. So silver lining is like you've got a little bit more options to choose from. The other thing here is like days on market have crept up. I showed you this chart already, but days on market crept up. And so what does that mean? It means that if you can find a home that's been on the market for a while, that's where you want to strike. Let me kind of share with you guys a little story of how I helped a buyer this week with a property that had been sitting on the market for a while. And I'm not going to give all the details, but I'll give some of the details. I can give the rough details without giving too much of this away. But the property came out. This was a condo downtown. Okay. This was a condo in OTR. First time home buyer, wanted to be down in OTR. And I get it. It's a fun area to be. So this property, when we went and saw it, or when it was on the market for $247,000. Do I want to share this whole story? I don't know if I want to share this whole story yet. I might have to save this one, okay? Because we're still in the negotiation, so I probably should wait till this thing closes. I'll share a different one. Recently. Bottom line of that story is I saved. We had a counter, but I saved him several thousand more dollars, okay, of where we're at right now. And it's fun. I love doing that. And what I would say to you guys, if you're thinking about buying, specifically in Cincinnati, I mean, really anywhere across the country, but like there are opportunities here in the market here locally for properties that have been sitting on the market a little bit longer. Those are the ones where the sellers are like, oh shoot, it's not selling. And they'll be willing to take more of a price discount. So those are where you can strike and get a little bit more. Same thing is true for new construction. And when you're trying to buy new construction and it's a brand new development, I was just with some buyers today and we were up. I'm going to roll out this video here shortly. I was looking at Arbor Homes, which is similar to like a DR Horton. They're out of Indianapolis and they're just moving their way down to Cincinnati. They've got one market in Cincinnati. They had like 50 lots and they've already sold like 47 of them. And guess how willing the builder is to budge on price when they've sold 47, they've got one pending and they've got 2 lots left. They're not very willing to budge on price. It's just supply and demand. Okay. But builders, when let's say they're in an older development that they're trying to close out and they've got a few spec homes or market homes in that neighborhood that they've already built and they're not moving, those are the homes that you can get them to move on price. Why? Because those are carrying costs that builder has every single week. I've got another buyer who's buying a $1 million home. And we, same thing. Like we just waited it out. We just waited that builder out. And we're like, we know your carrying costs suck every month. And so like they didn't have, we negotiated, we had our price about a month ago and they said no. We're like, all right, cool. There's others out there. We came back a month later and, we did some negotiating and, good on my buyer. Like he's getting, they came down a lot. So those are the ones to go after. Okay. Where are we? Let's get back into this. All right. Throat's getting tired. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, feel free to leave any questions or comments in the chat. Okay. Year-over-year growth. Oh, he's talking about inventory. So yeah, here locally, I kind of talked about that inventory. Lock-in effect suggests that homeowners who might be interested in selling their homes now would rather wait than wait into a housing market with mortgage rates that might be twice the rate. So he's basically saying like, yeah, people don't want to sell because homes are more expensive and rates are higher. And that's not just boomers, right? That's people who bought a few years ago. Anywhere from 3 to maybe like, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, but maybe they refinanced in 2020, 2021. And they're like, I've got this 3% rate. It's pretty nice. Do I really want to sell this house and take a 7% rate? Nah, we'll just make it work. So the people who are selling are the ones who are like, dude, we got, we've got a 3-bedroom house and we've got 5 kids, or whatever, or 4 kids. Like this is not working. They need to upsize, or it's people who need to downsize. Like this is too much house. Like I don't need this. Or it's people who are moving for family, or it's people who are moving for a job. Like it's people who need to move. That's why inventory is low. Like the people who are selling are the ones who kind of need to move. And we already know millennials, you'll buy that. You'll buy that. You don't have to clean it up. Sellers, you can let the mice run around and you can be smoky. Just go ahead and smoke in there right now. Why not? If you haven't smoked there, millennials will buy it. Okay. Palm stressed that since the beginning of October, mortgage rates have increased from a low of 6.1, hovering close to 7 ever since, which hurts affordability. Those rates would have to come down to help ease the housing market. The housing market in 2025, so let's look forward to this year, faces a difficult balancing act with a notable decline in mortgage rates, likely needed to help unwind the lock-in effect and thaw the supply of existing homes for sale. So, let me translate that a little bit. The people, in order to get more inventory, if rates come closer down to that 5%, that'll help those people who have maybe a 3 or 4% rate to sell their current home, jump up to the 5 or 6%. So it's not as big of a pain point. Like they want to move already. They're just like, double the rate. No, thank you. We'll wait it out. But if that rate comes down, it not only helps you for affordability, but it helps increase more inventory, because right now that gap where everyone refinanced a few years ago, or not everyone, but a lot of people did. A lot of people have rates under 5%, 4 or 3%, some in the 2s even. They're like, yeah, I don't want to give that up. So if those rates come down, they'll be like, okay, that's close enough where the pain point of wherever the situation I'm in right now, I'm willing to sell. That'll unlock some inventory. Does that make sense? However, he says that we believe such a decline would likely jumpstart demand from potential first-time home buyers currently waiting to purchase, which could lead demand to outpace any improvement in supply, further exacerbating already high home prices and purchase affordability. So that's what we talked about early in the show. It's like once those rates do come down, yeah, you'll get maybe a little bump in inventory, but the bump in demand might outpace that bump in inventory. And so it's like, yeah, it doesn't really help the problem, which is, again, why I'm like, look, the answer to this is we got to build more homes. Like you can't just, the boomers and the people with the low interest rates, they're not going to sell their houses enough to keep up with the demand that's there from millennials, but not just millennials, but future generations as well, right? Gen Z and whoever else behind them. So, that's why, regulation is a big deal. Like regulation that would help builders, because it's new homes are expensive, not because builders are like just raking it in, though in some ways they are, but it's like all of the cost to develop land, to get utilities there, all of those kind of things. That's what's on top of inflation, that's what's fueling up the the new construction homes. So if you could ease that up a little bit, that would help, I think, long term help with this problem here. Alex, what's up? Do you see more folks buying downtown OTR soon? Looks like a whole bunch of condos have been on the market for 100 plus days. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, I have seen that market slow down a little bit more than, kind of like the burbs or the housing market. And so that's why for my buyer here who bought that condo downtown, it's like, great. Like, and if you're from another city and you're like, man, everything's $400,000 or more, I'm like, well, come take a look at Cincinnati. There's some pretty cool stuff down there for $250 right now, and like you can walk to all the coolest restaurants and nightlife in FC Cincinnati, and whatever. Like, anyway, just shout out. Yeah, so I don't know what's it feels like that demand has slowed down a bit, Alex, downtown OTR. I think more and more as city ownership continues to think through, like, that's why I think the arena is a big deal, convention center, like, but specifically, I think the arena and getting bigger, more amenities downtown is going to help more demand downtown, right? Another question here. Thanks for asking. I wish they would build more 2 and 3 bedroom homes, but with limited resources, they prefer bigger homes with higher profit margins. Yeah, I know that. Like, it feels like that is a market that is just ripe for someone to take. And it's like, but they keep getting squeezed there because of all the, you're exactly right. One hoop, like it's not necessarily the bigger homes with the bigger margins. It's that the 2 and 3 bedroom homes, I can't even, there's very few 2-3 bedrooms. It's like the cost to develop all that land, you need to sell some of those higher priced ones in order to be able to do the 2 and 3 bedrooms, unless you're just going way far out or you don't have the amenities or anything like that. It's tough. I think I'm not a builder or developer, so I'm not an expert in this space, but I do feel like if the margins were there would be builders doing this. Like, because the demand for it is, like, for sure there. Like, if you could build a 2-3 bedroom home and get it $300K or less, like, you're selling those things out. Anytime I see a market that has something similar to that, they're gone, like, instantly, because that is what more people can afford. And so I agree with you. Like, whether it's smaller or some kind of, if you can bring down the price on that first time home buyer build, that's, there's a market there for sure. And that's where I'm interested to see. I'm watching very closely what Dries Homes is doing, because Cincinnati, if you guys probably, I don't know how many of you watch this, but Cincinnati passed this zoning regulation last year called connected communities, where they opened up, they didn't change the entire zoning code, but they opened up a little bit where there can be more infill development within the Cincinnati area. They're specifically trying to do that along bus lines, because the way they're doing that is they're making parking restrictions easier. So single family homes, you've had to require parking all these years. Now they're like, I forget what it is. It's like 1.5 parking spots per 2 or 3 units or something like that. Because they're saying build these on the bus lines. You can build them cheaper because the land might be a little cheaper. And they're trying to get, I think, to that price point where a lot of people could do the townhome kind of thing, around that 300K, or at least under 400K for sure. But can you get in that 250 to 350K, and get more people moving into the city? It's interesting, but I totally agree with you that, like, not the people who are buying $5 and $6 and $7 and $800,000 homes, it's not their first home, right? Those are people who are they're doing well, and they're upsizing, and they're like, sweet, I bought my first time home, or maybe my second home, and now I'm going to sell that. Got equity in it because we bought it 5-7 years ago or whatever. Now we're going to build our dream home. Like, now we're going to go with the new construction and, like, build this 2,500, 3,000 square foot home or whatever it is. So yeah. Thanks for that comment, One Hoop. I have a fear of homes built in the 50s and 60s. Most of my friends say foundation issues are recurring along the high energy costs for older homes. What's your take on this? Yeah. I'll tell you something that'll make you throw up, makes me throw up. I have a home built in 1905. I love it. Tons of character. Stone foundation. My utility bill for December don't know if I should share this. Let's just say like it was pretty sickening. Now I am building an addition, so we had a lot of air leaving the house, but like every December, yeah, I'm well above $500. I'll just say that from a utility standpoint. That's a big house, but it is, and I tried to insulate that sucker. It's just like, now that's 1905. 50s or 60s are a little bit better, and you can do, you can throw some insulation in the attic. And usually those homes are smaller too. So you can do the spray foam in the walls as well. You can get them pretty good. And I've been in them where people have done the installation and really, really zipped them up from an efficiency standpoint. Foundation issues, it can be, a lot of those houses in the 50s or 60s are block foundations. So it's not stone, it's not a poured foundation, it's cinder block. And what you got, some of them are fine, but in the Cincinnati area, we do have a lot of hills. And so some of them are not fine, and that can happen. It just depends. The most important thing on that really is, what's the status of it when you get it, and getting that water to move away from the house. So making sure your gutters are good, making sure all the water when it rains is not continuing to erode any kind of soil, where then you'd have some issues with the foundation with cracks or bowing in the walls or anything like that. Now, I can tell you as a, as a real estate agent who's been doing this for 7 years, and as a real estate investor who goes and sees a lot of those houses, I see a lot of them where those, you're getting water in the basement and the foundation is bowing. I bought my first house. It was built in 1923, I believe. It had a block foundation. It was bowing. The previous owner before me had put in the beams that essentially like keep that bowing in place and kind of lock it in the ground. And it had a lifetime warranty on it. I was like, I'll buy that. Cause it was, it was harder to sell because a lot of people are not interested in foundation issues at all. So it did take me a little bit longer to sell, I will say. So it's an issue. And I'll say most rental properties that I want to buy in the Cincinnati area, I tend to look for something built in the 70s or newer because of that. I want something that's insulated a little better. For me, a sweet spot is buying in like the 90s and early 2000s. I love buying those houses. 50s and 60s, you're right. You're going to have more energy issues and more foundation issues. Thanks for that question. You guys are jumping in and I love it. Please, again, thumbs up if you haven't in this video already. In California, a 3,000 square foot houses have $1,500 gas utility per month in many cities. Just make you feel better. Oh, that does make me feel better. Okay. Yeah. I mean, most months, I think most homeowners in Cincinnati would say like your average utility bill is anywhere from like $100 to $200 a month, most months here in Cincinnati. What is the deal in California? Californians, I've got a lot of love for you. I've sold a lot of Californians home in Cincinnati, and I would love to sell you, many of you, a lot more. So $1,500 a month. Is that just the energy cost? Or, I mean, because I would assume the houses are really efficient from regulation standpoints, but I don't know. I don't know that market as well. JM, what are the average utility costs for a 4-bedroom Dreeser Fisher home? Yeah, probably what I said. 4-bedroom home, you're looking probably 22 to 2,800 square feet or something like that. You can get those around 1,800 square feet. Probably, I would guess, I don't know, help me out. Anyone out there who has one of these homes. But I would guess around 175, 200 a month. And that's a great question to ask if you are thinking new construction, like what type of insulation they're using. On my addition, I'm doing the zip system and we are buttoning that sucker up. And Drees and Fisher do different things there. So just be sure to ask that question. But I would say around $200 a month, and like I said, that's going to be probably a little bit less in like the spring and fall where it's pretty mild, and a little bit more in the winter. Maybe you'll hit 300 in the winter or something like that. In page in PGE in Northern California, making up for losing a lot of money due to fires. People are outraged. I mean, what do you expect? Do you expect more people to leave now? Like with the fires, I assume insurance is going to continue to go up, or is it like, I know, I'm not trying to get political, but I know Trump opened up some water and went in there and looked like he kind of like yelled at the mayor and the governor. Is that like restoring people's hope right now of like, oh, yay, it's going to get better. Or people are like, I'm out. California's just so interesting, man. Like, it's just wild. I don't know. And it's just my perspective of what I see on the news, but it seems like you guys put up with a lot to live there. And, Northern California and, there's a lot going on there. I mean, there's a lot going for it is what I should say. Like, it's so beautiful and so much industry there. But man, they seem to be gouging you guys there. So cool, guys. Thanks for the interaction. All right, let me wrap this thing up, and then we're at an hour. You guys are staying in here today. I love it. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. If I can, the cost of a so-called starter home has soared in recent years, according to a recent analysis by Redfin. In 2012, the typical median sale was to find a starter home at $95,000. Price rose to $165 and rose to $250,000. Yeah, I know, guys. I already showed you this. What did they say? 95. Oh no, this chart, right? 95. There's your median home. 2005. There, it seems like a little bit off, but okay, whatever. Prices go up is what that paragraph says. The research also notes that while the typical household earns 8.9% more than they need to afford the median price starter home in 2019, the typical household earns 57% more than they needed to afford the median price starter home. What? Let me read that again. The research also notes that while the typical household earns 8.9% more than they need to afford the median price starter home in 2019, typical house earned 57% more than they needed to afford the median price. Okay. So it's down from 57% to 9%. So you earn 9% more than you need to afford the median price starter home. Down from 57%. In 2012, typical household earned 113% more, or yeah. Okay. Yeah. Prices have gone up. Affordability is hard. Yeah, we get it. Starter homes aren't what they used to be. A decade ago, a turnkey 4-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood was often considered a starter home. I don't know. Yes and no. But today, a small fixer-upper condo is often all a first-time home buyer can afford. I mean, I guess that's somewhat true. I guess I kind of said that with the condos downtown. Said Redfin, senior economist Elijah. The American dream is changing. For many, it no longer involves a house and a white picket fence. Yeah, I've heard that line a bazillion times. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to go back to this and just be like, if you can do it, right? It's harder. It's more expensive. Someone mentioned in the chat earlier, the FHA loan. Can you do that? Can you get in before the dream gets too far away? You don't want to rent forever. You want to own an asset. You want to own an asset that builds equity. So 2025, I'll probably do another, predictions video here in the future a little bit. But I wanted to give you guys kind of the lay of the land. I wanted to show you a little bit about the stats here in Cincinnati, what's happening, seasonality. Pretty predictable here in Cincinnati. Like home prices are going to go up. Inventory is going to go up. Days on market is going to go down every month from now through July. Okay. What are interest rates going to do? Well, if they go up, then houses will be more unaffordable, right? Or at least your monthly payment is going to go up. If interest rates go down, your monthly payment might go down, but more than likely, you'll see a lot of people who are on the sidelines buying houses, raising demand, which is going to lift prices up. And so I say to buyers, it's probably a wise move to try to get in before all the demand comes. And if that interest rate does go down in the future, you can refinance, right? What's the saying? You can marry the house, but date the rate, right? You can refinance on the house. Yeah, there's extra closing costs for that, et cetera, but it might save you in the long run. If you can get in the house for 20 grand less now, because there's not the demand of it there's going to be, and let's say your payment is, I don't know, let's just say your payment's $200 more a month now. Okay. It's $2,400 more on the year. It'll take you 8 years, 7, I don't know. What's the math on that? Like 8 years for the additional payment. Will rates go down in the next 8 years? Probably. Like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll go up to 18%. Who knows? Point is, like, you can't earn equity without owning the house. And And maybe you can get creative. I got really creative with my wife. We house hacked. We had our first house. We had roommates in there. Then we bought a house that was bigger than what we could afford. And we had roommates in that one. Like, there's a lot of ways to try to do this. We bought a duplex and lived in that. There's a lot of ways to do it. I have a couple empty lots in Blue Ash. Could I build a small townhome around $700K? Bob Armacost, I bet you've got, yeah, you probably can. Hit me up. I would love to talk to you. Have you talked to builders? Because they'll probably buy one of those lots for $1 jillion. I know some builders who are doing a lot in Blue Ash. Could you build a small townhome for $7? Yeah, you could build for $7. If you own the lot already, then yes. The answer is yes. You could build that for $700K. But hit me up. I'd love to talk to you about that. Guys, I appreciate you, Sztanyo Klanyo. It's been a little while. I'm glad we were able to dig into this, and so many of you stuck around. It's good to have you on here. Again, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Share this with anyone who you think it might benefit them, who's looking to buy or sell this year. I know I talk mostly buyers. Sellers, you can basically like reverse all of the discussion we had and know that you're going to be in pretty good shape. But seller, you're going to become a buyer on the other side of that, more than likely. What was I going to say? My brain's starting to slow down. Oh, if you share this with someone, please tell them to watch it on 2x speed. So like, this was a long one. Bob, awesome. Cool. Looking forward to talk to you. I'll put my email here, eric.stanyo@kw.com. Would love to learn more. Appreciate you guys watching here in the chat. Sztanyo Klanyo. Like I said, I hope to be more consistent on this home edition, guys. It's been a lot. And so just doing what we can here for the business, and to make sure we're paying, lumber and electricians and roofers and all that good stuff. Trying to take care of my family. I've wanted to get on here every week. It's been a challenge. The home edition should be ending up end of March, early April. And at that time frame, exciting things, because this office will probably move to home, which is great. The studio will move to home, and it'll be a lot easier for me to walk upstairs and do one of these lives and talk to you guys and talk about the market and living here in Cincinnati. But appreciate you guys. Thank you, Sztanyo Klanyo. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening and an amazing week. Who day, right? There's always next year, Bengals fans. And we'll talk to you in the next one, guys. Thanks.